say the highlight for this week's episode, besides the obvious quality scene, would be the scene to where Okabe and Maho talk about Mozart and Antonio, their connection, and kind of how Antonio viewed Mozart in history. And I really like stuff like this in any form of literature, stories, whatever. When I see stuff like this, where you have a character name themselves after some famous person, and then it kind of applies to the storytelling with characters or how they view other people, I like stuff like this. I'm a sucker for it. I admit it may not be the best thing in terms of literature, but I do love that. I do love the symbolism of it, and I do love the context of how it was used within this episode. So obviously, it's going to be the first thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about the message there, the meaning of what, the names represent. For instance, why, Kurisu went by Mozart, and then why, we have a new character, Maho from Steins Gate Zero, now taking the name of Antonio. Now we understand what these two names really mean, and if you do know about your history and you knew about these two individuals, most likely you already knew this revelation, or you had some form of theories about it. But if you are like me and you don't really know the full extent of history when it comes to those two individuals, then this will definitely open your eyes up and you'll be like, holy crap, this is definitely fascinating. So to get right into it, basically, we get the revelation behind Maho's name, her username, and Okabe asks a question like, what's that supposed to mean? And then you have to where Maho explains the context of the story between the two individuals in history, and kind of how one viewed the other, and they felt like they were inferior, and they were always trying to catch up to the other. And so, in this case, the characters in the story, basically, Maho is represented as Antonio, while Mozart is Kurisu. And Kurisu, she is someone that has always been exceptional when it comes to being a scientist. She's always come up with these different theories that it just absolutely blows your mind. I mean, if we think about the events of Steins Gate, the OG series, remember the whole reason why a lot of things happened in Steins Gate was thanks to Kurisu's mind. For instance, being able to make a time machine, or the theory of time machines. And as you remember, when Kurisu, her scientific theory is so great that her own father tried to steal from her and actually tried to kill her for it. So it does prove a point that when it comes to Kurisu's knowledge, she's always been one step ahead of almost any individual, and she's probably one of the smartest characters in the series besides Daryu because of how he is as an individual and how eventually he comes around to make a time machine. But Maho is someone that's always been in Kurisu's shadow. She's always been the outcast, someone that is exceptional as a scientist, someone that definitely can stand out, but because of Kurisu's presence in the story, or in, Maho's world, she's always been in the shadow, and she's always felt like she's inferior, or she can't stack up to Kurisu. But at the same time, we do know through our own experiences with Maho as a character, that she doesn't hate Kurisu. In fact, she really loves Kurisu. She mourns her, she's upset every time she thinks about Kurisu. We just know that she deeply cares about her. Now, there could be other hidden sides to Maho's personality that we're unaware of. For all we know, maybe the reason why Maho wants to get into the laptop, the PC, is because maybe she wants to take those scientific theories and then, apply it to herself, for she can make it in public display and allow her to get fame and fortune. Something like that could potentially happen, because, there's not much an AI Kurisu can really do to stop her, and since the real Kurisu's dead, and the only one that now knows about it would be Okabe, obviously she could get away with anything. She can get away with, giving those details out, and, making them hers, and taking all the credit for it, similar to how Kurisu's father was. So we don't know if that's the side that Maho has, we don't know if that's a hidden side to her personality, but if we're going by the story that we got with this episode, it's very apparent that she feels inferior, and maybe she wants to surpass Kurisu, but she realizes that she still can't even stack up to an AI Kurisu, because Okabe is just so, captured by her that she realizes, she still can't even compete when it comes into the love department. So, yeah. Anyways, getting off of that though, let's talk about the PC. That's a vital piece of information with this episode, and the way you could kind of establish what the meaning of this PC is, Kurisu's old PC, is that it's Pandora's box. That's what even Okabe says at the end of the episode. He's like, look, if people get into that PC, that laptop, and they find out what's in it, they see Kurisu's life, research, and personal data, then that's going to start World War III. And it makes a lot of sense, because, once again, the whole reason why the Alpha World timeline went to hell was because of Kurisu and her knowledge and all that, and then it's kind of similar here as well. So when you look at it, Kurisu's always slightly been a big reason to why the world lines go to hell, because of her research and just how intelligent she is. But basically though, Okabe's like, look, you need to get that PC back. If you don't, we're all screwed. World War III is going to happen. And as we know, Okabe, he's made a step forward now. He's trying to change as an individual. He is trying to change to where he doesn't want to use the time machine. He doesn't want to time travel, which basically means if anything bad happens, if anyone dies, he's not going back in time. He is not trying to reverse that. He basically is like, I'm done with time travel. We're going to just try to save this timeline and make the best of what we have with this crappy, hellhole of the Beta World line. That's pretty much what he's trying to say. So he's doing everything in his power to make sure that everything goes in the proper order to where nothing really bad happens. But as we know, World War III is going to happen regardless. Regardless of however Okabe feels about the situation, it's going to happen. He's in the Beta World line. It's destined. It's predestined. Regardless of what he wants to do or how he feels, it's going to happen. That's just how it is. And he knows about this. He knows no matter what he does, it's going to happen. And he should be fully aware of this because the whole situation with Kurisu and Mayuri and how he couldn't save them. That's just the inevitable of this timeline that World War III will happen, and he needs to face that fact. And he's very aware of this, but at the same time, he doesn't want to truly acknowledge it yet. You can see as a character, he doesn't want to acknowledge the fact that it's still something that he cannot reverse or change because of his actions and what he did in, making the decision to let Kurisu die, or, letting Mayuri die. His decision is what causes so many problems to happen in the Alpha World line and the Beta World line, and he's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life, because anyone that dies in this world, thanks to World War III, it's his fault, technically. That's how he's going to feel. And eventually, I feel like as time goes on, he's going to continue to pound upon all this weight and burden on his shoulders and realize what he has done. And that's why he seems so scared at the end of the episode. He's like, that's Pandora's box. Don't open that. We're not allowed to open that. If you open that, it's going to be really bad. And Maho's reaction to the situation, oh my god, I gotta say, I gotta commend the animators on that, the production team. That was some really good character expression coming off Maho. You could just see how scared she was, and you can't really understand it completely. You don't know if she's just legit terrified of knowing that it's super serious, that this laptop, could cause World War III, or she's looking at Okabe because she's scared because of how he's acting. Because, if you have someone walk up to you and start spouting stuff like this, like time travel and World War III, different organizations wanting your stuff, even if you were attacked, you would still think they're crazy, okay? This ain't Kurisu. Kurisu, she was able to figure stuff out with Okabe because, she saw certain things off, she hanged around him a lot, and she also believed in time travel and had the fury and all of that, and they kind of, experimented with it for a little bit. So she was kind of aware already. Maho is something completely else. She's completely different. She wasn't around, Okabe's group in the Alpha World line, so she doesn't know what they've been through, and so hearing stuff like this, someone might think you're crazy, and I could definitely see her, being scared because she's frightened that this man might just be mentally deranged after Kurisu's death. For instance, Kurisu's death impacted him so much that he just went off the deep end and went crazy or something. That could be the reason why her expression is like that. So we'll see where that goes, but I do want to point out that I do like that expression of Maho because you don't know what she's really terrified about. Is she terrified about the concept of World War III, or is she terrified about what Okabe is doing or how he's acting at the end of the episode? But regardless of whatever happens there, or however that situation goes, I do want to point out that within this episode, Maho does state that she did give the computer to someone that is a specialist. Now, I want to believe that it's Daru, but the more I look at this episode and look at the little hints here and there, something is telling me it might be, the professor. The dude, the American. The reason why I think that is because he was in this episode for a very quick scene. And honestly, when you look at the scene, as an anime only that hasn't caught up with the, the visual novel, it looks like a very irrelevant scene. Which, a lot of slice of life scenes in Steins Gate are not that important. They mainly just establish characters and we get to find out more about their personalities, which I'm completely fine with. I'm not complaining about that by any means. Oh, I love that type of stuff. But I'm just saying, when you look at the grand scheme of things, that scene doesn't look that important. And it could be one of those type of scenes from Steins Gate. Like, for instance, the Moeka stuff in this episode, that was a lot of fan service, the sleepover. It could be something important in the future, but, most of the time, usually something like that most likely doesn't really matter in the end. And so, most likely the professor scene could be something like that, but I feel like with the context of what Maho said to Okabe at the end, saying like she had a specialist, looking into the computer, something makes me believe that she's making the professor look into the computer to figure out what's within it. And if he finds out what's that's within it. Obviously, this is going to probably start World War III, because as I've said for a while now while doing these anime reviews, I truly do believe the professor is rather shady. Just the way he acts and the way he fits in with the description of a foreigner searching Akabe, I mean, it just makes sense that the man is very shady, and I do believe that most likely he could be potentially, one of the main villains of the story. But we'll see where that goes, but I do think that's who Maho probably gets a computer to if it wasn't Daryu, because we do know that she had an interaction with him a couple episodes back, so for all we know, that's who she probably delivered it to, but we'll find out. Anyways, Moeka. Let's talk about her for a second. So Moeka, she's been integrated into the cast. Now, she was technically already a part of the cast in the OG Steins Gate, but she wasn't relatively, like, on our side for a lot of time. I mean, she was in the story, and in the anime, she was there, but for the most part, she was kind of absent or always in the shadows. And she still kind of has this, character interaction with our cast, but you can see from this episode and the previous episodes that Moeka is getting a little bit more spotlight than she had in the Alpha World line that we saw in the original Steins Gate, which I do appreciate because, I mean, Moeka, at the end of the day, even though what she did to my Yuri, for instance, killing her and working a part of CERN and FB and all of that, and she was heinous for doing what she did, at the same time, it seemed like she had a very sad life. It was a very sad and tragic life, and I'm glad to see that she's getting a little bit more interaction with people. For instance, you have Maho talking with her and is like, hey, don't think you're inferior, even though you can see Maho got very upset with herself as well in that scene, and she realizes that she does feel like she's inferior to Kurisu. She didn't want to give a lecture at all to Moeka because she realized that if she did, she would basically just be a hypocrite, because, I mean, she feels like she's inferior to Kurisu. But like I said, though, I'm very pleased that Moeka is getting a lot of spotlight. She is not having that, irrelevant role that she had. I mean, she was important. I'm not saying she wasn't. She had a very important character role in the second half, but I'm glad she's on our side. We're getting to see a little bit more about her personality, how she interacts with everybody. It just pleases me personally, and so that was definitely a plus from this episode that I do want more of. I do want more Moeka, because I feel like there's more to her than we actually got from the original Steins Gate. But that's about it. I mean, besides AI Kurisu's interaction with Okabe and all that, just seeing how there was a cute little interaction and memes and stuff, for instance, never gonna give you up! I cannot believe there was a Rickroll meme, reference in this episode. That blew me away. I mean, Steins Gate's always had memes. It's always done things that, are actually a part of, today's culture. I was really surprised to hear Kurisu saying, never gonna give you up. I'm like, yep, this is a good series. Yes. But okay, that's pretty much about it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this week's episode of Steins Gate, please be honest in the comments below. And I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or not, wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And with that, I love you guys. Chibi out.